Good afternoon. Welcome to the India Country session on Awakening India's I4.0 transformation, organized by Enterprise Singapore and the Confederation of Indian Industry. My name is Sabarish and I am part of Enterprise Singapore's South Asia team and will be your MC for today. Thank you for taking the time to join us. We are pleased to have a set of esteemed panelists who will be sharing more insights on India's industrial transformation. Together with CII, we will also be sharing more about a new smart manufacturing initiative which we will be launching today. To kickstart this session, I would now like to invite Mr. Dilip Sawhney, Co-Chairman CII Smart Manufacturing Council and Managing Director Rockwell Automation India, to give the welcome address. Mr. Sawhney has 3 decades of experience in industrial automation and healthcare technology industries, and has held leadership roles in organizations such as Rockwell Automation, L&T, and GE. He was the past president of the Automation Industry Association and is presently the co-chair of the CII Smart Manufacturing Council. Mr. Sawhney, please.
Thank you. Well, Mr. Tan Soon Kim, Assistant CEO, Enterprise Singapore. A very good morning and good afternoon to many of the participants joining us from across the Asia Pacific region. A very, very warm welcome to all of you who've gathered at the 4th ITAP, which is the Industrial Transformation Asia Pacific event. It is, my understanding is this is Asia Pacific's leading trade event for Industry 4.0, organized by Constellar, which is in partnership with Deutsche Messe. And it is similar to the premier trade show event held at Hannover Messe. I'm privileged to address the session focusing on Industry 4.0 opportunities and the needs in India, followed by the unveiling of Singapore Industry 4.0 showcase on CII Smart Manufacturing platform. Now, businesses worldwide, notably manufacturing enterprises, are gearing towards new levels of capability, competitiveness, and innovation, driven by continuous improvement strategies powered by Industry 4.0. Largely speaking, the state of Industry 4.0 readiness amongst Indian organizations and Indian operations of multinational companies mirror similar organizations across the globe. Although Industry 4.0 implementation has many common challenges, some which are more specific to India, not surprisingly. Companies that address these issues smartly and in a timely fashion will be poised to capitalize and transform themselves into world-class manufacturers. Now, with this as a view, CII has offered the CII Manufacturing Platform, which is an industry-led initiative on Industry 4.0 and beyond. It is steered by members of the Smart Manufacturing Council at a national level, and it's tasked to help Indian industry in adoption of Industry 4.0, or what we call also as smart manufacturing. The platform itself was launched in 2019 as an industry-led initiative and as a one-stop shop to spearhead multidisciplinary Industry 4.0 activities post the joint statement which was signed between Germany and the Indian government during the 5th IGC, where both the sides agreed to create linkages between the 2 platforms. Now, the platform itself is focused on 2 broad areas. Firstly, building partnerships, be it bilateral and multilateral partnerships, the partnerships with state and central governments, academia, and then industry itself. Secondly, it provides services in the area of assessment and consultancy, capacity building, policy and standards, and a showcase of use case studies, demo centers, and enlisting credible technology providers. And all of these services are enabled through participating members in the Smart Manufacturing Council and the CII Secretariat, which is doing an awesome job. Let me share the deliverables of the platforms very quickly. We start with assessment and consultancy. CII Smart Manufacturing maturity model was created to objectively gauge the level of adoption of smart manufacturing by an enterprise and to guide companies on their journey, through to smart manufacturing. This dipstick is available on the platform free of cost. But for a For a more deeper dive assessment, there is an assisted model for which members are serviced by the CII Secretariat and the members on board. Coming now to the capacity building programs for making industry understand the various technologies and upskilling, the CII launched a series of webinars on Industry 4.0 as an initiative to help companies leverage digital as a vehicle to transform into a connected and a smart enterprise. A virtual zone in the platform consists of upcoming and also recorded webinars on the topic of Industry 4.0. Currently, there are well over 40 webinars that have been conducted on industry-specific needs by industry experts. CII also has an LMS, learning management system, and it's called the CII Gecko platform, which provides specific programs on smart manufacturing. Another critical deliverable is technology solutions, technology partners that are providing sector-specific solutions. Coming now to case studies, as I'm sure you all will agree, use case studies form the very basis of making enterprises understand and enable them to think towards the adoption of Industry 4.0 or smart manufacturing. With this focus, the platform has now assembled 55 case studies, and the number is ever growing, which are showcased, in our cataloged, as per the specific industries or the sector types. And what we've done is we've laid these out on a map of India to depict where the deployment is, so that people who are interested can very easily navigate to what is closest to them. Let me talk about demo centers. The platform also showcases a few participating demonstration centers and experience zones, which are listed to help users explore the existing facilities that allows members to basically place a request for a virtual or a physical demo, right? Seeing is believing, and that is really the philosophy behind creating this capability. And last but surely not the least, there is the e-directory. That's the platform we launched. It's a first of a kind initiative. It's an e-publication that showcases the prowess of the Indian industry in the area of Industry 4.0 by listing out companies and their products and applications, covering a range of technology pillars that includes robotics, blockchain, additive manufacturing, IoT, cybersecurity, big data analytics for Industry 4.0. It's been very well acknowledged by the industry so far, in the short time period it's been in the existence for. So once again, I'm extremely happy that Enterprise Singapore is coming on board on the CII Smart Manufacturing platform through the and this linkage, Enterprise Singapore and the Singapore India Partnership Office is going to be working very closely together in areas like leveraging smart manufacturing platform. By the way, it is very simple, smartmfgindia.com, to build on a showcase of specific, effort, work that's being done by Singapore in the area of Industry 4.0 for the benefit of the Indian industry at large. Also formulating an e-marketplace and showcasing credible technology partners from Singapore on the platform, right, for easy access for Indian industry. There are also possibilities to develop need-based joint capability or capacity building program. There's also a plan for digital exposition of use cases to showcase successful implementation, stories across sectors to help users adopt Industry 4.0 with a specific focus on MSME that is very important for India. We'll also explore developing sectoral framework or reference guides, basics, the successful implementation of use case studies from various technology providers in Singapore. I'd like to also mention that the platform is all geared up to help the industry with all of these services, and I would urge the industry to join the movement, come on board, and let's drive this change together. So thank you once again for this opportunity, and back to you.
Thank you, Mr. Sauni. Next up, We have a panel discussion where we will be hearing from our esteemed panelists on India's industrial transformation journey and opportunities for Singapore I4.0 companies to be part of this journey. Without further ado, I would like to introduce our first panelist, Mr. Gautam Datta, Director Marketing, Siemens Digital Industries Software. Mr. Datta has more than 35 years of experience in engineering, IT, and digitalization, and has held leadership roles in organizations such as Siemens, PTC, IBM, and TCS. His special area of interest lies in the field of Industry 4.0 and the digital transformation of India's manufacturing SMEs. Mr. Datta is an alumnus from the Delhi College of Engineering and IIT Madras. I would now like to introduce our next panelist, Dr. Bana Rao, Senior Manager, Aviation and Aerospace Solutions Center, Republic Polytechnic. Dr. Rao started his career managing projects involving setting up manufacturing facilities and facilitating tech transfers and best practices from the UK, US, and Japan. His career spans over 2 decades across Asia in different industries, including aviation, supply chain, equipment service, education, and training. In his current role, he is actively involved in project consultancy and the commercialization of engineering solutions with the private sector. I would now like to introduce our next panelist, Mr. Prapagar P. Silvam, President and CEO, Kentia Systems. Mr. Silvam has over 2 decades of experience in the technology and manufacturing domain and is actively supporting the industry transformation journey of many manufacturers across Asia. He is also the chairman of the Manufacturing Enterprise Solutions Association, APEC. Last but not the least, let's welcome Mr. Glenn Tan, Group Partner, Tandem X, who will be moderating the session. Mr. Tan has a wealth of experience in the manufacturing and industrial domain, having served in key leadership roles in organizations such as Flex and GE across various geographies, including the US, Middle East, Africa, and Asia. In his current role as the group partner of Tandem X, he works closely with industry partners in the FMCG, industrial, and manufacturing domain for transformation and turnaround consulting. He is also a certified Series I4.0 assessor. Over to you, Mr. Tan.
Thank you so much, Subaresh. And firstly, good morning to our friends in India and good afternoon to our friends in Singapore. So what I wanted to do together with our esteemed panel today is to focus specifically not so much on the what is I4.0 and industry transformation, because I'm sure many of you are very well aware, but more to focus on the how we're going to get that done, right? And when we talk about the how, I just wanted to use this statistic just to set context, right? And this statistic can be found either through a Harvard University study, which you can go get online, or a McKinsey study. And it says that 70% or 2/3 of business transformations fail. That includes digital transformation, of course, right? And the reason why that happens is because of the fact that in any of these transformations, and in today's case, you cannot live without technology, there are 3 critical components, right? First being the people component, which is the most complicated. Second, obviously, you have the process component. And thirdly, you have the technology component, right? Now, in the people component, typically the keyword here is trust, right? Can we trust that in this transformation, I will not get impacted in a negative way? It's always a question in many people's minds, right? And so what I want to do is to be able to get the rich experiences from each of these panel members to share with you as you can tell, many years of experiences across industries, across companies, and obviously across geographies as well. So I'm going to now kick off with the first question to Prabhakar, founder and CEO of Kentia Systems, right? And Prabhakar brings with him the full suite of manufacturing execution services to the table. And so Prabhakar, the question for you is, since you run an international business, especially spanning between India, Singapore, and now you being based in the Philippines, could you share with us a little bit about how, through your engagement with your clients, trust gets built as you move along the digital transformation journey with them?
Good day to everyone. Before answering the question, how did we build trust? First, let me briefly mention about what we do in digital transformation space. With the HQ headquarter in Singapore, we are making factory smart by focusing on the three key elements: execution, IIoT, and manufacturing intelligence. We call it MES 4.0. Although there are several technologies playing vital roles in Industry 4.0 or smart manufacturing or digital transformation, whatever we call it, these are all some of the technologies such as AR, VR, AGVs, IIoT, artificial intelligence. There are several, additive manufacturing. All of these technologies contributing a huge role in this transformation. So based on the recent study conducted by Capgemini, they found among all these technologies, MES, IIoT, artificial intelligence, and robotics are yielding immediate or higher benefits compared to all the other technologies which I mentioned. So also Gartner also projected by 2024, MES will include, which is a manufacturing execution system, will include IIoT and analytics as a next generation MES. These are all some of the studies that talks about the foundational elements which are MES, IIoT, and artificial intelligence, in digital transformation. Using for your question, how did we build trust? So for that question, how did we do that? Using this foundational manufacturing, smart manufacturing technologies, we quickly deliver and they see the results immediately. That's what we do it, like start small and scale big approach. So, for example, I would like to give a case study we have done recently. In fact, we have done that during the pandemic situation in the Philippines. It's a company called Little Fuse. It's a global company. They have more than 20 plus factories globally. They are semiconductor and electronics industry. So what we have done with them, we immediately focused on connecting real time and using our MES 4.0, and we collect real-time data and do analytics and even predictive maintenance quality stuff we put together. This all we have done it within 4 months time, and within 3 months time they started using the system. They realized 10 to 15% productive improvement, and also 7% OEE improvement, overall equipment effectiveness. With that, so they see a huge improvements, and with that improvements, they like to do it all factories they have in Philippines, not only Philippines, even China and other factories. So that's how the approach we started with a start small and scale big approach that that really works well. And also we start with the foundational manufacturing, smart manufacturing technologies. That's how we approach and build trust with our customers. In the same case with India. So when we recently started our activities in India, we did the same thing in leading automotive and electronics manufacturers. These are huge companies, in fact, in India. So we also did the same, started a few areas first, and we built trust, and now we are doing several factories with those customers in India. So also, I and most of our leaders we all originated from India, and we understand the culture. It's much easier to adopt the local culture and grow faster. Comparatively, I go to Philippines and build a relationship with new culture and a new environment, and it's much easier, obviously, in India, right? So, of course, that really helped me in India, for India's context, to grow faster. That's how we did it in terms of culture and also in terms of the trust that we built. Thank you.
Firstly, he mentioned one thing. He mentioned start small. He mentioned do it in a short span of time, 3 to 4 months. Gain the confidence and the clients will journey with you. And the third point you mentioned was cultural awareness. You said, I come from India, so I understand the culture. The question then is, how do we, as we work across cultures, learn to understand the culture before we get in? And that's part of trust building. Yeah. So thank you, Prabhakar, for that. Much appreciated. Gautam, I'm going to switch over to you. And given that you represent a big conglomerate, Siemens, at the same time as well being a finance expert, my question for you will be how you are looking at things in the context of the Indian market, right, and the opportunities that you see in there with regard to Industry 4.0.
Thanks, Glenn. Yes, India is a very large SMB country. Of course, we have very large organizations, but we do have a very large long tail of small and medium manufacturers, both in discrete and process industries. And we also have a very vibrant startup scenario over the last 4 or 5 years. And the way we approach the needs of transformation is essentially to help them build optimized network of sharing data and collaborating. These are the 2 keys to transformation. If I know what I'm doing, how it is impacting my people, my process in the organization, and how well I'm continuously improving and optimizing, that gives me a sense of transformation from where I was to where I will be and want to be. And that brings in transformation for people. Technology is an enabler. Okay. And of course, there are pieces of capabilities our technology provides, like the slide shows the digital twin, which allows you to do this closed looping in processes, the very customized way you can implement, and of course, the ability to collaborate across the enterprise, within the enterprise and outside the enterprise. But coming to your question, our experience has been that while the message that such transformations, digital transformations, can help a small, medium business segment and startups to be at par with large companies, because this is the time for mass customization. Mass customization means economy of scale advantage is slowly eroding. Everybody has a level playing field as long as your products are customer centric, and very quickly you can come bringing them to the market at a very optimal, cost and price structure. So if you put all that together, there are reluctance of risks that SMB has. The risk is towards, for example, number one, access to technologies and in-house expertise and lack of skilled operators. So if you put all these 3 together, essentially transformation cannot be singular only in my decision to adopt technology. My decision to adopt technology has to go hand in hand with the transformation of processes. That means I should know what processes I need to optimize. And that's where skilling comes in and expertise comes in. So I agree with Mr. Prabhakar. I think we have a need where we can create this story of collaborating sometimes and most of times even beyond your organization, to bring in experts, to bring in consultants, to bring in startups to do the last mile configuration of the solution, and then help the investors, the stakeholders understand how we are de-risking their investment. And one of the additional facts I would like to bring on the table, that most of the technology now is available on the cloud. And you can create a pay-as-you-go structure. Like you said, start small. Maybe it's a sandbox. Maybe it's the new product line, which you would like to take to the market. And that's where you start testing. Baby steps are important. Our experience shows that in India, most of the SMBs would like to start with monitoring and then go back and do intervention and optimization of design and manufacturing. As you can see on the slide, the framework of smart manufacturing or digitalization covers the entire value chain from design to realize, which is manufacturing, to optimize, which is the closed looping, as the circle shows under accelerator, right? Now, India SMB, our experience shows that they would like to do monitoring first. That means IoTization of machines. That means the challenge for our consultants is how do we make an older machine speak and deliver data? Okay, how do I IoTize those older machines? Because that, being a country the way we are, we can't change all our infrastructure and bring in new infrastructure. We have to enhance the existing infrastructure, improve the processes. And once I have the data has to come in as a contextual form, meaningful, actionable data. Otherwise, it will be data everywhere and no decision to be taken because I don't know where to take the decision. So adding context, asks for demands experience, understanding of the processes. And once the contextual data in the form of analytics is available with the decision maker, then they decide whether the intervention is in realize, manufacturing, or design. And then the closed looping and constant optimization is adopted. This understanding, once it is understood by an SMB and the stakeholders and the investors, I think life becomes very easy, because then it's a collaborative effort between technology providers, between process improvement people, and the SMB itself. Does that answer your question, Glenn?
No, very nicely done, and I thank you, Gautam. If there's one key theme I wanted to highlight, which I counted the number of times you mentioned collaboration. I think this entire thing cannot be done by one company. And you can say that the company is the biggest and it's been around for many years, right? But then again, because of the speed in which we're moving, I think the key word here is collaboration. And because of how things are being done today, you mentioned two examples of collaboration, big and small. You mentioned that in the last mile, you could use the small players, right? And therefore, you see the collaboration between big and small. You mentioned internal and external, right? Do you just rely upon your own skill sets? But you know what? Like we say, we're moving so fast, you might not be able to upgrade your skill sets. And therefore, you're looking for consultants coming to support you. And it's important because, again, Gautam moves towards talking about the house beyond just the what, right? So, and he uses this very interesting term, and I know it's been a big challenge, dealing with legacy systems and legacy data stored in those systems. And how do you very easily, in today's terms, IoTize it, as he uses the term, IoTize it. And so these are some of the hows that come to life. And then, of course, the skill sets around how do you use that load, massive load of data, and you're swimming in a data lake, is the way we describe it, right? How do you make that decisionable and actionable? So I want the audience here to hear from what Prabhakar has mentioned with starting small, and Gautam did also key that theme up again, starting small, and how that starting small can be done fast because of the ability to collaborate given the network infrastructure and technology today, like IoT devices that help you to make it a lot easier, right? So just wanted the audience to just now digest these two things. I'm going to move over to the doctor, and I also want to take the opportunity to let the audience know that the doctor has also had very good news today, because his very smart daughter of the doctor is also representing Singapore as Miss Universe 2021. And by the way, they are of Indian origin, so as Indians, we should be proud of that. So I just wanted to take this chance to do a bit of, I call it marketing on his behalf. So Dr. Bana Rao, my question for you is, given that you have moved across at least 3 to 4 different industries, number one, packaging, commodities trading, airport services, and now being in an institution of higher learning, plus the fact that you've also been an entrepreneur yourself, and now obviously an educator. My question for you is, how do you see bringing together the people, process, and technology in a use case in any of your industries that you were working in? If you could share that with us as part of the house, yeah?
Thank you very much, Glenn. I think you mentioned at the beginning of this session that the success rate of business transformation can be a question mark. And then one of the key success driving factors are the people. So people's development. So I always, since I moved across different industries and across the geographies, in Asia particularly, I saw it is the people's element or people's development. I would call people's transformation is the most important thing and an also challenging thing I found. So that's one of the reasons why I came back to the People's Development Platform, which is IHL in Singapore, particularly at the level where these graduates are going to go to most of them going to go to the SMEs. And connecting Singapore with India, India has 63 million MSMEs, micro, small, medium enterprises, as counting. And in this particular case, most of these small, medium enterprises, they rely on people's and their skills and their capabilities. So we at the IHL, we do have the capabilities in terms of facilities and staff, as I mentioned in the slide there, for the development of Singapore-based people, which is the manpower side of it, because Singapore being a small country, we have an opportunities now to connect with a bigger country like India to tap onto the market potential there, for which we actually do an active study tours, bringing the students to get them exposed to the opportunities in India. So this is like an eye-opening to them. What is going on there? How the systems are being in place? What kind of best practices they are implementing over there? And this gives an opportunity for them to think, reflect what they do in Singapore and how they can actually bring the Singapore's expertise in terms of systems and best practices to India and connect these two dots. And one of the things, if I could say, for example, as Prabhakar mentioned and also Gautam mentioned, you need to start small. The start small is an example where we always experiment within Singapore, working with various small, medium enterprises. Because if you don't develop the small, medium enterprises ecosystem in India, it is quite difficult for you to attract the bigger MNCs, because those bigger MNCs would never bring everything with them to establish themselves in that part of the world, which is what my experience shows as well, working with MNCs. And then me becoming a small, in fact, it's a medium enterprise as a co-founder, I found that there were some barriers. Now it's improving quite a lot, because thanks to digitalization in India and also the Skills India developmental programs. And we didn't have at that time the institution that actually trains micro, small, medium enterprises. Today we have in Hyderabad, which is called National Institute of MSME. So they are providing quite good amount of trainings like we do in Singapore. So if we can connect these two dots, we could actually help Singapore's development. We could actually help India's development of SME ecosystem, which is what we are quite good at it. And IHLs in India and IHLs in Singapore have the opportunity to collaborate. And back to the simplicity of the solutions. For example, I call it as first level of automation. We have done a small project as an example where to move the loads, we use a trolley, but underneath we use a microprocessor controlled motors as a first level of automation to bring the productivity. And I'm glad that Gautam mentioned about mass customization, which is actually my PhD topic. And I did mass customization with combination of lean, because you can't do mass customization at a most expensive way. You have to do it a cost-effective way. That's why you bring the lean together. It's quite challenging because lean demands you standardizations, whereas mass customization breaks the standardizations and bring the customizations at a large scale. So if you can marry these two things, whether it is in Singapore and India, you can bring wonders to provide what I call personalization in the e-commerce world. People are thriving to achieve these things. So Singapore has very good opportunity, especially Singapore companies have very good opportunities to liaise with IHLs to get the people's development part of it. We have capabilities. We have a proven case studies working with Singapore companies, and we are giving this Singapore students exposure to Indian industries, Indian companies, live what is happening there, so they can have a reflection on what they can do, and then they could help the startup ecosystem in India as well. For in addition to that, Indian companies, those Singapore companies or Indian companies would like to embark on the journey of I 4.0, we have CET courses, continuous education and training courses. As an IHL, we can provide those things to train them to develop. Because I come back to the earlier statement that Glenn mentioned, it's the people who can make the change. But if you don't change these people's mindset, when I say mindset, it comes from the culture. For the culture of India or any part of the world, I can see three aspects of it. One is a behavioral, the other one is social, and the last one is philosophical. And my experience in different sectors, different geographies, when I went back to India to do certain things over there, I also realized that India is actually not the uniform in any way from south to the north. So therefore, your experience of multiple cultures and multiple geographies will definitely help in experiencing or in implementing certain things, particularly the startup and developing and supporting ecosystem of SMEs, which is what the powers of Singapore, I would say, is a great opportunity for Singapore to connecting the dots. And if I come back to the recent Indo-Pacific, Indo-ASEAN summit, and there are 4 or 5 areas they've identified, and they've earmarked about 10% of India's 2021-22 export target of 400 billions, which is about 40 billions for ASEAN. And both prime ministers talk about key areas like, for example, supply chain resilience and efficient supply chains. I would use it as second sourcing or alternative sourcing from India. And that is a great opportunity for Singapore to tap onto that. The second is pharmaceuticals. Pharmaceuticals, India is the third largest manufacturer of pharmaceutical generic drugs. And I come from a city called Hyderabad, and Hyderabad is one of the powers of that particular area. So therefore, that is another opportunity we have to distribute these pharmaceuticals using our cold chain opportunities, the cold chain technologies that we have, and the knowledge that we have. We can transfer that knowledge and develop the distribution channels to all over the world. And the third area is also the digital connectivity. Singapore is quite good in terms of this area, and we can help many of the startups to kickstart, whether it is in payments, e-commerce, or cybersecurity. So those are the areas that Singapore has an opportunity to connect with India. And in addition to this, 2 more areas, which is Singapore can actually connect, Singapore companies can work with Indian industries, especially SMEs, is a transportation and logistics, and bringing the electric vehicles to the foray where the sustainable energy management, solar energy, these are the areas that Singapore is quite good in terms of contributing, whether it is technologies developed in IHLs, commercializing in India, or investing at a small scale. I always believe in simplicity, bring the small scale, but with a big scale in mind. That is what the mantra we could use it for India. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Dr. Banarao. And if there's one thing that he mentioned regarding the people element, I caught 2 things. Yeah? Firstly, it's to do with education. Now, if you don't educate people, it's going to be very difficult for them to be upskilled. Not so much just the technical skill sets. I think he talks a bit about, when you look at people, there are 3 key elements to do with that. And one he mentioned was the behavioral aspect, the social aspect, and the philosophical aspect. And when you soak somebody in an environment that is different from theirs, they start to learn that culture of their environment. And that's why you were talking about bringing students from Singapore into India, so they get a chance to soak in the industrial, the cultural context of that country, and thereby help to figure out what makes sense practically if that knowledge is going to be transferred into that environment. I think you spoke about bringing students across, and likewise, the question then is how do Indian industries also find a need to bring some of their workers, some of their professionals over to IHL. And if you want to come to Singapore, more than happy to do so. You can have a chat with him, Dr. Bana Rao, drink coffee at his Polytechnic and learn a bit more or two, in terms of what you want to do in the use case context, because he's covered multiple industries. Now, I know we are short of time. In the next 30 seconds, I just want to ask each of you, if there's one key takeaway you want the audience to leave with, what would you let them leave with from this call? So I'll start with Gautam this time. What would be your word of wisdom for the audience?
Thank you, Glenn. It's not a word of wisdom, it's just a word of awareness.
Sure.
I think we have to bring I'm going to borrow your statement. We have to bring the how discussion in the boardroom. Most of the boardroom discussions stop at what and how is left to somebody else in the team of initiative owners to sort it out. I think the how needs to be elevated to a boardroom discussion, even if it is main summary. That means management has to understand why they are doing what they're doing, where they need to have the improvement, and therefore what are the gap areas. One of the biggest reasons of reluctance of adoption, Glenn, is the initiative owner, not getting this sense that I have management support on making these changes, on having these technology and making enabling initiatives for people. That's my input, Glenn.
Thank you, Gautam. Prabhakar, over to you.
Yeah, based on what I observe in companies, not just in India, even throughout Southeast Asia, even Asia Pacific region, I would say, although we are talking about a lot of Industry 4.0 on relevant technology and other stuff, there are more than 70% of companies, they don't have even the foundation ready. Particularly, you are all talking about SMEs as well, right? So they have to look at what is the foundation they need to immediately look into that. If you're talking about Industry 4.1, still live with the Excel sheet kind of lifestyle, and it's not going to make sense. We can't say that we are in transformation age or whatever. So on that aspect, there are a lot of areas they need to improve. Since we don't have much time, we don't get into that. But I think they have to look at the foundation. What is right now they need to, I would even call it Industry 4.0 foundation or smart manufacturing foundation. Look at that and from there grow. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Prabhakar. And Dr. Bana Rao, you can wrap us up. Take us home.
Thank you very much. My advice is that be prepared for a journey. Previously, we used to call continuous improvement. Now we are in the era of continuous transformation. The reason being the disruptions or the changes are coming quite frequently. So you have to transform yourself. And I agree with Prabhakar saying that there may be the systems or situation on the ground could be at a very basic level. So you need to be prepared to do the hand-holding of experimenting, piloting, and implementing certain things that will bring them to the next level and so on to the next level. So that's why I call it as a journey. And if you can map out this when you try to embark onto the connection between Singapore and India, that will be a great opportunity for you for coming years to go.
Thank you very much, Dr. Bana Rao. I appreciate it. I'm trying to connect now the dots across the three panel speakers. So I think the first one talks about the leadership aspect. How are we, as leaders of our organization, going to help that transformation leader to be successful? And ultimately, my company was what was brought. And Gautam mentioned this needs to be, the how question needs to be answered in the board, right? Now, then again, Prabhakar re-emphasizes the point of starting small first, and he calls it the foundational aspects, right? He says, how do we sort out the foundational aspects in the organization? And if we end up still using Excel, so it's basically saying, if you start to move away from Excel for a minute, you could already be on your journey. And that leads into what Bana mentioned, where he says, be prepared for a journey, but make sure you change yourself first. and therefore start with mini experiments, was what he mentioned. Yeah, so I'm going to thank all of you for your time. Much appreciated. I'm going to hand you back over to the conference organizers.
We are pleased to share more about a new initiative which we are launching in partnership with CII Smart Manufacturing Council. As part of this initiative, Singapore I 4.0 companies will be able to showcase their offerings on a dedicated platform as part of building mindshare and promoting industry adoption in India. Let us now take a look at a short video clip to find out more. Glad to announce the launch of the Singapore I 4.0 showcase. I would now like to invite Mr. Tan Soon Kim, Assistant CEO, Enterprise Singapore, to give the closing remarks. Mr. Tan oversees Enterprise Singapore's global markets, including America and Europe, Middle East and Africa, and South Asia. Mr. Tan holds an executive MBA from the University of Chicago Graduate School of Business. He also completed the Advanced Management Program in Harvard Business School in 2011. Mr. Tan was awarded the Singapore Public Administration Medal Silver in 2020. Mr. Tan, please.
Mr. Dilip Sawhney, Co-Chairman, CII Smart Manufacturing Council. Mr. Glenn Tan, Group Partner, Tandem X. Distinguished panelists, friends from CII, ladies and gentlemen, a very good afternoon. First, I would like to thank our partner on this journey, the Confederation of Indian Industry, or CII in short. Over the years, CII and Enterprise Singapore have developed a long-standing and strong partnership spanning across many sectors and states. Today's launch of the Singapore I 4.0 showcase on the CII Smart Manufacturing platform marks yet another milestone in our commitment to develop and strengthen our enterprises by building upon each other's strengths and experiences to help our enterprises adopt new technologies and grow. CII's Smart Manufacturing Council is a gathering of thought leaders who have put together their industry knowledge and experience, taken systematic steps to build an ecosystem of knowledge partners, and develop tools and services in order to enhance the capacity of CII's members. With their guidance, the Smart Manufacturing platform will be the one-stop shop that addresses the needs of Indian enterprises across various stages of industrial transformation as they embark on their smart manufacturing journey. The assessment tools and training materials provide a useful starting point for companies and professionals who are looking to learn more about I 4.0, while the case studies and demonstration centers provide practical insights on applied technologies and possibilities. I'm glad that Singapore can be part of this initiative to contribute our experience in driving technology adoption and showcasing our advanced manufacturing capabilities that have been developed over the years. More importantly, this platform offers Singapore solutions providers the opportunity to connect with Indian manufacturers to understand their needs and market gaps. Singapore companies can also tap on the platform to identify partners who can jointly develop new applications and use cases that would benefit from and contribute towards India's industrialization and export ambitions. As both our industries continue to grapple with the pace of change brought about by COVID-19, there is still much that can be done through technology adoption in the manufacturing sector. Many companies had earlier embarked on digital and industrial transformation initiatives have found themselves better able to adapt and respond to supply chain and manpower disruptions during this pandemic. Here, I would like to thank our panelists, Mr. Glenn Tan, Mr. Gautam Dutta, Mr. Bana Rao, and Mr. Prabhakar Seldon for your insights and joining us in the call for Singapore and India to work together on this important global trend. I urge Singapore companies to come find out more and join us on this platform. Once again, my appreciation to CII, our partner, for this opportunity, and I look forward to the next milestone in our ever-growing and deepening partnership. Thank you.